You check your bank account and feel confused. You make decent money. You're not buying ridiculous stuff. You're being responsible. Yet somehow you have exactly $47 left until Friday, and it's only Tuesday. Sound familiar? Here's what's actually happening to your money. You're being slowly bled to death, $15 at a time, by the subscription economy that's designed to make you perpetually broke. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people who make good money still can't seem to build wealth. If you're someone who feels like your paycheck just vanishes into thin air, or if you've ever wondered why your parents seem to accumulate more stuff on less income, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because today we're talking about the most insidious wealth transfer in modern history. We've moved from an ownership economy to a rental economy, and most people don't even realize they're the victims. Here's the thing. Your grandparents bought a car and drove it for 15 years. They bought a house and lived in it for 30 years. They bought a television and watched it until the screen literally died. They own their stuff. Today, you lease your car, rent your apartment, stream your entertainment, and subscribe to your software. You own nothing. And the companies that convinced you this was convenient are laughing all the way to the bank. Let me show you the math that will make you physically sick. A recent study tracked thousands of budgets and found something terrifying. While most people think they spend about $86 a month on subscriptions, the reality is the average American is actually spending $273 per month. That is over $3,200 per year vanishing from your account for apps and streaming services you don't even own. Think about that for a second. That $3,200 is more than the average American has in their entire savings account right now. You are literally financing these companies' record profits while draining your own safety nets. And here's the brilliant part of this scam. None of these subscriptions feel expensive individually. Netflix is only $15 a month. Spotify is $10. Your gym membership is $60. Disney Plus is $8. Hulu is $12. Your car payment is only $400. Each one seems reasonable in isolation, but death by 1,000 cuts is still death. Let's start with the streaming overload, because this is where most people completely lose their minds when they see the numbers. The average household now pays for 4.3 different streaming services, 4.3. That means some people are paying for 5 or 6 different platforms to watch the same recycled content. We're talking Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Apple TV, Peacock, Paramount Plus, and whatever new service launched this week. Here's what kills me about this. People will spend 20 minutes comparison shopping to save $3 on toilet paper, but they'll sign up for a streaming service they'll use twice and forget to cancel it for 18 months. I know people who are paying for streaming services they didn't even know they had. They're getting charged for free trials they forgot about from companies they've never heard of. The math is brutal. If you're paying for 4 streaming services at an average of $15 each, that's $60 per month. Over a year, that's $720. But here's the kicker. Research shows that the average person watches content on only 2.4 of their streaming services in any given month. You're paying for stuff you're literally not using. It's like buying groceries and throwing half of them directly in the trash. And don't even get me started on the content quality. Half the stuff on these platforms is garbage you wouldn't watch if someone paid you. But somehow we've convinced ourselves that we need access to every piece of mediocre content ever produced. Your great-grandmother had 3 television channels and was perfectly entertained. You have access to more content than every human who lived before 1990 combined, and you spend 30 minutes scrolling through options before settling on The Office for the 400th time. But streaming services are just the appetizer. Let's talk about the gym membership, which is basically a monthly donation to your own guilt. The average gym membership costs $60 per month. That's $720 per year. And according to industry data, the average gym member visits the gym less than twice per week. Some people pay for gym memberships they literally never use, ever. Here's what's psychologically fascinating about gym memberships. People won't cancel them because canceling feels like admitting defeat. It feels like admitting you're lazy and you've given up on your health. So instead of canceling, you keep the membership as a monthly reminder of your good intentions. You're paying $60 a month for the privilege of feeling bad about yourself. That's some next level psychological manipulation right there. I know people who have paid for gym memberships for 3 years straight without stepping foot in the building. 3 years, that's over $2,000 they could have used to build a home gym, take a vacation, or invest in their retirement. Instead, they paid a premium to feel guilty every month when they see the charge on their credit card statement. And the gym industry knows this. Their entire business model is built on people who pay but don't show up. If everyone who had a gym membership actually used it regularly, most gyms would be completely overwhelmed. They literally count on you being too lazy to use what you're paying for. But even the gym membership pales in comparison to the ultimate subscription scam, the car payment. This is where people really lose their minds financially, and most don't even realize it's happening. The average new car payment in America is now over $700 per month. $700. For 7 to 8 years, that's not a purchase anymore. That's a subscription to transportation. You're essentially renting a depreciating asset for the most expensive years of its existence, then trading it in just as the payments end to start the cycle all over again. Think about this business model from the dealer's perspective. They sell you a car for $50,000. You pay them $700 a month for 8 years, which comes out to over $67,000. Then, just as you're about to own the car outright, they convince you to trade it in for a newer model and start the payments all over again. You've paid $67,000 and you own nothing. Meanwhile, they've sold the same car multiple times and collected more than it was ever worth. This is why car dealerships push leasing and long-term financing so hard. They don't want you to own your car. They want you to be a permanent subscriber to their transportation service. And most people fall for it because they focus on the monthly payment instead of the total cost of ownership. Here's what really gets me. People will justify an $800 car payment by saying they need reliable transportation for work. But you can buy a 3-year-old Honda or Toyota for $25,000 cash and drive it for 10 years with minimal maintenance costs. The total cost of ownership would be a fraction of what you'd pay in subscriptions to newer cars, but that requires thinking long-term and having cash available, which brings us to the real problem. The subscription economy has trained us to think in monthly payments instead of total costs. Everything is positioned as affordable monthly chunks instead of the massive lifetime expenses they actually represent. Your brain processes $15 a month very differently than $180 per year or $1,800 over 10 years, but that's exactly what these companies are counting on. We've been conditioned to think that ownership is outdated, inconvenient, and expensive. They've convinced us that renting everything is freedom, but here's the truth they don't want you to realize. When you rent everything, you build nothing. When you own nothing, you control nothing. And when you control nothing, you have no leverage to build wealth. Your monthly subscriptions aren't just expenses, they're wealth transfers. Every dollar that flows out of your account in subscription fees is a dollar that could have been building equity, earning compound interest, or creating actual value in your life. The software subscription racket might be the most predatory of all because they figured out how to hold your own data hostage. Adobe Creative Suite used to cost $1,200 once. You bought it, you owned it, you used it for years. Now they charge you $60 per month forever for the same software. That's $720 per year for something you used to own outright. Over 5 years, you'll pay $3,600 for software that you could have purchased once for $1,200. But here's the evil genius part. They don't just want your money. They want your dependence. All your projects, all your files, all your creative work is now locked into their ecosystem. If you stop paying, You can't even open your own files. They've essentially taken your creative output hostage and are charging you ransom every month to access your own work. And it's not just Adobe. Microsoft Office, which you used to buy once and use for a decade, is now a subscription. Google Workspace, Dropbox, Slack, Zoom, QuickBooks, Photoshop, Lightroom, Figma. Everything is a subscription now. Your business essentially pays rent to exist in the digital world. I know small business owners who are paying over $500 per month just for software subscriptions. That's $6,000 per year for tools they used to own. And here's the kicker. Most of these subscription versions aren't even better than the old ownership versions. They're just repackaged with cloud storage and called innovative. But let's talk about the subscription that's probably bleeding you the most without you even realizing it. Your phone plan. The average American household spends $144 per month on wireless service. That's nearly $1,800 per year to make phone calls and scroll through social media. Now, I get it. You need a phone. Communication is essential. But $144 per month? Your parents had a landline that cost $30 per month and made it work just fine. Somehow we've been convinced that we need unlimited everything on multiple devices with premium features we don't even understand. Here's what kills me. People will fight tooth and nail to save $20 on their grocery bill, but they'll pay $200 per month for a phone plan without questioning it. They'll clip coupons for hours to save $5 on laundry detergent, but they'll upgrade to unlimited premium data they'll never use. The phone companies have masterfully disguised the true cost by bundling everything together and offering payment plans for the devices themselves. Your free iPhone costs $1,200, but it's spread across 24 months at $50 per month on top of your service plan. You're not getting a free phone. You're getting a $50 per month phone subscription disguised as a deal. And then there's insurance for everything you don't own. You're paying insurance on a leased car. You're paying extended warranties on devices you're financing. You're paying protection plans for subscriptions that will be obsolete in 2 years anyway. It's insurance on top of subscriptions, on top of payments for things you don't even own. The coffee subscription might be the most absurd of all. Yes, people now subscribe to coffee delivery services that cost $25 per month for coffee that costs $8 at the grocery store. But it's convenient, right? You don't have to remember to buy coffee. The algorithm remembers for you. You've outsourced the basic human task of buying coffee to a computer, and you're paying triple for the privilege. Here's where this gets really dark. We've created a generation of people who don't know how to own things anymore. They don't know how to maintain a car they own outright. They don't know how to buy software once and use it for years. They don't know how to buy a house and live in it for decades without constantly upgrading. Ownership requires responsibility, maintenance, and long-term thinking. Subscriptions require none of that. You just pay the monthly fee and someone else handles everything. But that convenience comes at a massive cost. Not just the money, but the life skills, the equity building, and the financial independence that comes with actually owning your stuff. The subscription economy has turned us into permanent renters of our own lives. We rent our transportation, rent our entertainment, rent our software, rent our living space, and wonder why we can't build wealth. You can't build wealth when everything you use is someone else's asset that you're paying to access. But here's what really makes me angry about this whole system. The same companies that are charging you subscriptions for everything are the ones getting wealthy from your monthly payments. Netflix has a market cap of over $150 billion built entirely on your $15 monthly subscriptions. Adobe is worth $240 billion because they convinced millions of people to pay them rent instead of buying their software. These companies are using your subscription payments to build their own wealth while ensuring you never build yours. They're accumulating assets while you accumulate monthly bills. They own the platforms, the content, the software, and the infrastructure. You own nothing and pay for everything. The psychology behind this is brilliant and terrifying. They've convinced you that ownership is a burden, maintenance is a hassle, commitment is limiting. Why own a car when you can lease? Why buy music when you can stream? Why purchase software when you can subscribe? But here's the truth they don't want you to understand. Ownership is freedom. When you own your car, you can drive it as much as you want without mileage restrictions. When you own your house, you can modify it, paint it, or knock down walls without asking permission. When you own your software, you can use it forever without monthly fees. Subscriptions are the opposite of freedom. They're ongoing obligations that never end. You're never finished paying, you never own anything outright, you're perpetually indebted to companies for basic access to the tools and entertainment that make modern life possible. The subscription economy has created a new form of digital feudalism. The companies are the lords who own everything, and you're the peasant who works to pay them rent for access to their land, tools, and entertainment. You're generating wealth for them while staying perpetually broke yourself. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize it's happening. They think they're getting good deals because each individual subscription seems affordable. They don't add up the total cost. They don't calculate the opportunity cost. They don't realize they're trading their financial future for monthly convenience. This is financial quicksand disguised as convenience. You think you're making smart choices, but you're actually funding a system designed to keep you broke forever. Think about what you actually own versus what you rent. I bet if you walked through your house right now, most of the things you use daily aren't actually yours, like your car, leased or financed, your entertainment, streamed, your software, subscribed, your music, rented from Spotify, even your damn books are probably on Kindle Unlimited. Here's the psychological trap that nobody talks about. The subscription economy has weaponized your fear of commitment and turned it into a profit machine. They've convinced you that owning things is risky, outdated, and inconvenient. What if technology changes? What if you move? What if you don't like it anymore? Better to just rent everything month to month and keep your options open, right? Wrong. Keeping your options open is keeping you poor. Let me tell you about the subscription mentality versus the ownership mentality, because this is where people's financial futures get decided. Subscription thinking goes like this. I don't want to spend $1,200 on Photoshop when I might not use it that much. I'll just pay $20 a month and see how it goes. Ownership thinking goes, if I'm going to use this tool, I should buy it once and use it for years. The subscription person spends $240 a year every year forever. After 5 years, they've spent $1,200 and own nothing. The ownership person spent $1,200 once and still has the software 10 years later. Same tool, completely different financial outcome, but here's where it gets really insidious. The subscription companies don't just want your money. They want your data, your habits, your attention, and your dependence. Every click, every view, every pause gets analyzed to figure out how to keep you hooked and paying. Netflix knows exactly which shows you'll binge. Spotify knows which songs make you emotional. They're not just selling you entertainment, they're selling you addiction. And the addiction is real. People get genuinely anxious when their Netflix subscription expires. They panic when their Spotify stops working. They feel lost without their usual apps and services. We've become dependent on these monthly payments for our basic comfort and entertainment. That's not a customer relationship. That's a dependency relationship. Let's talk about the opportunity cost of all this renting, because this is where the real wealth destruction happens. Every dollar you spend on subscriptions is a dollar that doesn't compound in your investment account. When you combine your car payment, phone bill, and those monthly subscriptions, you're bleeding over $1,100 every single month. If you invested that money instead at 7% returns over 30 years, it would be worth $1.3 million. You are literally trading your millionaire status for the convenience of not owning stuff. But it gets worse. The subscription economy is accelerating. Everything that used to be a one-time purchase is becoming a monthly payment. Your car is becoming a subscription with services like Fair and Canvas. Your clothes are becoming subscriptions with Stitch Fix and Rent the Runway. Even your furniture is becoming a subscription with services like Furnish. Soon you'll rent your couch, subscribe to your wardrobe, lease your appliances, and stream your books. You'll live in a fully furnished life that belongs entirely to other people, and when you can't make the payments, everything disappears overnight. No equity, no assets, no ownership, just monthly bills until you die. The scariest part is how normalized this has become. Parents are raising kids who think ownership is weird and outdated. These kids will grow up never experiencing the satisfaction of buying something once and using it for years. They'll assume everything in life requires monthly payments. They're being trained to be permanent renters. Here's what you need to understand about the companies profiting from this system. They're not just making money from your subscriptions, they're building empires. They're using your monthly payments to buy real estate, acquire competitors, and expand their monopolies. While you're renting everything, they're owning everything. Amazon uses your Prime subscription fees to build warehouses and delivery networks. Netflix uses your monthly payments to produce content and acquire studios. These companies are converting your rental payments into permanent assets while you accumulate nothing. So here's what you do. Tonight, when you get home, pull up your bank statements and add up every single recurring charge, every streaming service, every subscription, every monthly payment for things you don't own. Write down that number and multiply by 12. That's how much of your financial future you're giving away each year. Then cancel everything you don't absolutely need. Keep one streaming service, cancel the gym membership, and buy some weights. Stop leasing cars and buy something reliable you can drive for 10 years. Start buying software instead of renting it. Choose ownership over convenience. The subscription economy wants you to think ownership is outdated, but ownership is how wealth gets built. Every monthly payment you eliminate is money you can invest in assets that actually belong to you. The companies getting rich from your subscriptions understand this perfectly. That's why they own everything while convincing you to rent it. Stop being a permanent renter of your own life. Start owning things again. Your future self will thank you when you're financially free instead of financially subscribed to everyone else's wealth.